Paul. So today we're going to talk about how to work remotely with your kids. Raise your hand if you thought that you would be attending a webinar titled this 2 weeks ago. No, of course you didn't. I definitely didn't think that I'd be putting one together. But here we are. And so I'm glad to be with you all today. Let's jump in. Okay. So a little bit about me and what we're going to be doing today. My name is Leah Rowe. I am a CPA. I'm a life and business coach. I'm an organizational culture consultant, and I am also a remote work expert, meaning that my background is actually in building, developing, and scaling remote teams and remote cultures. So this remote work thing is kind of my jam. However, the whole working at home with kids thing is totally new. So we're going to discuss that. I'm going to talk for about 15 minutes and then we're going to jump into Q&A/discussion. I did this webinar last week, so we'll I'll touch on those points again, but also we're going to be talking about what we've learned in the past weeks since we've been doing this and what we've been seeing people experiencing. And that's why at the end it is Q&A, but it's also really, I want to focus on a discussion because one of the big things that I've learned is that every single person's experience right now is so completely unique. And so I want to make sure that, we're providing this space to be able to ask questions specific to your own experience so that we can brainstorm and come up with solutions to help you. So that's what we're doing today. But why are we here? I'm a huge Simon Sinek fan, so I love to start with why. Why are we here? We're here together today because this is not a normal work from home situation. Many people, also, if you can hear that, my 20-month-old is slamming her body against the door and yelling, "Mama." Again, this is the new reality. So this is not a normal work from home situation. Many people are remote for the very first time. A lot of people are remote only for the first time. So even if you've worked from home occasionally in the past or you have a remote friendly work environment, a lot of people are now solely working from home. So that can be a huge shift. It was really abrupt when I work with organizations on becoming remote friendly, remote first, or completely remote. It's a whole long strategy and execution. It's change management. It's communicating with employees. It's figuring out exactly what equipment's needed, how the work's going to be done. It's process. It's all of that. And we didn't have that this time. So for many companies, this has been really abrupt, no time to plan or strategize. Things are kind of crazy right now. There's a lot of uncertainty in the world. And so there's so many different things that are pulling at our attention. And kids are at home. This is not a normal work from home situation. Our kids are here with us. This is my reality. And I'm sure yours looks somewhat similar. So we are in a totally unprecedented time right now. And so we need to make some shifts in how we think about things and actions that we take to really thrive during this time. So I want us all to acknowledge that this isn't normal. I want us to acknowledge it's not a normal situation. Our kids are at home with us. Your attention is going to be divided. The whole idea of getting into a state of flow and just like crushing work for 6 hours straight, probably not going to happen for a while. So embrace the fact that your kids are going to be pulling on your sleeves. They're going to be sitting on your lap. They're going to be yelling in the background on conference calls, and they're going to be video bombing a lot on your Zoom calls or whatever video software you're using. It's just how it's going to be. So the first thing that I want to talk about is I want to talk about this perspective shift. So if there's nothing else that you take from our conversation today, I want you to learn this phrase, know it, love it, tell yourself it over and over and over again. Tell whoever's at your house with you this, tell your team, everyone. This is an unprecedented time. I'm doing a great job. Right now, a lot of what I've experienced in the past week is this. I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I'm not giving my kid the attention she needs. I feel like I'm failing the business. I feel like I'm failing my team. I felt like that a lot. But what we really need to do, this is like the life coach coming out, we really need to shift that perspective. So whenever we feel or say internally, I am a failure, I want us to instead say, this is an unprecedented time and I'm doing a great job. And this is something that your team, if you're working on a team, is really going to need to hear as well. So if you take nothing else from today, make sure that you know this phrase. Okay, let's start at the beginning. Few tips for working remotely with your kids. The first tip I have is do not work and parent at the same time. I have zero guilt being a working mom, but I have loads of guilt when I'm trying to work and be a mom at the same time. You're put in this thing where you have to half-ass everything and you really just want to whole-ass one thing. So do not try to work and parent at the same time. If you are in a 2-parent household, you need to have a discussion with your partner. Figure out schedules, figure out who's going to work when, and try and have it be in blocks of like an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's how Dan and I are doing it right now. We switch off about every hour and a half. And literally, since we're running the business together, we are literally like handing over the baby baton and the business baton as we are like passing each other. But it's really been helpful for us to not work and parent at the same time. If you have older kids, make sure you're having a discussion with them. I don't have older kids, but friends of mine have been saying that, they let their kids know, hey, if I put this sign on my door or if I shut my door, like I'm in a meeting and I need you to text me if something's on fire, but otherwise you need to let me work. So just really being open and having a discussion with setting those boundaries. The second tip is be realistic about what you can and can't do. Think about how many hours can you actually work? What are the things that you can actually get done on a daily basis and maintain your health and your sanity? Balancing productivity and emotional wellness is so important right now because of everything that's going on. Our mental health is so important. So really be realistic with yourself and with your team and with your manager. How many hours can you actually work and maintain your health and sanity? One way that can help you to focus on the work that actually needs to be done in a day is to ask yourself this question. This is one of my favorite questions. I ask myself this every day. Focusing on the one thing. If I can only get one thing done today to move the business forward, what would that be? This question can really help to prioritize and help you focus on what actually needs to get done. Because maybe you're spending a lot of time doing things that are not actually driving the business forward right now. And so really focusing in, because you're going to have less time right now to get stuff done. What's the one thing that I can do today to move the business forward? And try something. Try to work 3 hours, take a break with your kids, try it. And if it doesn't work, communicate with your team, communicate with your boss, and try something different. There's no blueprint for this. We are in uncharted territory. So try something. And if it doesn't work, try something else. Okay, the third tip, and also this is what I talked about last week. And so I'm going to give a little caveat too. Last week, I said eliminate screen guilt. And I truly still feel like this. This is my reality right now. I have to keep this business running. And so my 20-month-old, she is watching more TV than she ever has before. She discovered The Wiggles this week. And I don't know if anyone else out there watches The Wiggles, but I'm actually super into The Wiggles. So I'm glad we made that discovery this week. But we need to not feel so bad about the amount of screens that our kids are getting right now. However, last week when I gave this webinar, it was very much thought, most people thought that this was only going to be for a couple of weeks. And if this were only for a couple of weeks, then yeah, my kid's going to watch a bunch of TV. But now that we know it's going to be much longer than a couple of weeks, one of the things that I've learned this past week is that schedules and routines are going to become more important. So Dan and I are taking steps to do more sensory activities with Betty, because now we know this is not like a 2-week thing. We're going to be in this for a longer haul. And so we need to do more age-appropriate activities. So we're balancing eliminating our screen guilt with also now adding in more activities. Okay, number 4, embrace showing your kids what you do every day. And again, this is something that I definitely love to do. I love having Betty be part of the team and showing her, the webinars that I'm doing and all the people I'm talking to. It's really fun. However, I also know that since last week when I said this, she doesn't really care anymore. I'm embracing showing her what we do every day, but she doesn't really care to watch what I'm doing all day, every day anymore. So embrace it, but also know that now that we're in this for the long haul, this one is also one that we're grappling with a little bit. The 5th tip is be gentle with yourself. This is the most important one. This is going to be the most important as we continue on this journey. Your productivity is most likely, some people maybe not, but everyone I'm seeing and talking to, your productivity is going to be less than normal. You are not going to be as productive as you normally are because your kids are at home with you. You have to take everything day by day. And again, use this perspective shift. Instead of I am a failure, this is an unprecedented time and I'm doing a great job. Things are evolving and changing every day. And so we have to take it day by day, be gentle with ourselves that we're not going to be as productive, and tell ourselves that we're doing a great job. Also, do not feel bad if you need to tell your team, if you're on a Zoom call, if you're on a conference call, do not feel bad saying, I'm sorry, I need to tend to something. I've had to do that many times in the past week, and people are so understanding and so compassionate right now because most people are in the same boat with us. So, Betty will be feeding the dog Cheetos and the dog will bite her and she will start screaming. And I have to say, you know what? My kid is losing their minds. I have to drop off real quick, but I'll be back on. And people are so understanding of that. And the other thing to realize too is I know it's really frustrating when it's your kid who is, yelling in the background or pulling on your sleeve, but just know that it definitely bothers you more than it bothers everyone else. Anytime Betty has made an appearance on any one of my meetings in the past couple of weeks, people have always been really, really kind and really enjoy seeing her. She's pretty cute, so I get it. But just know that kids on meetings, it definitely bothers you way more than it bothers the people that you're meeting with. Okay, so those were my tips. This is what I shared last week. And now I want to talk about 1 week in, what have we learned? The first thing that we have learned is that this is really, really, really freaking hard. We are exhausted. I feel like last week was the adrenaline rush of like, okay, we got to get all the things. Okay, we're doing this. We're killing it. This is amazing. And now the reality is setting in because everyone's located in different places. But, Wisconsin, we got the stay-at-home order today. So we're looking at least 4 more weeks, which is understandable. But reality is setting in that this is going to be for longer than we originally thought. So schedules and routines are becoming really important. And one resource that I really like that I urge you to check out is at Boldly & Co, boldlyandco.com. They have planner sheets for how you can schedule your days with your kids at home. So definitely check that out. One thing we've realized is that breaks are important. Dan and I worked 7 days straight. Like we didn't take a weekend because we're like, what are we going to do? This isn't a real weekend. We'll just keep working. And it was day 7 at 2 p.m. and we hit a wall. So there is a limit. Everyone's limits are going to be different, but it is there. So breaks are extremely important, even though your weekends and your evenings are going to look different than they did before social distancing. Taking those breaks is so, so crucial to prevent your burnout. And so self-care right now is super important. Check out the Facebook group, Parent Squad, Self-Care Support for Moms and Dads. Danielle is putting out so much good content and tips and different things for how we can take care of ourselves during this very unique time. The second thing we've learned from talking with all of our peoples is that all age groups pose their own challenges and pieces of amazingness. Pieces of amazingness is not a scientific term, but I'm going with it. So, for example, babies and toddlers, what's really hard is that we have to be physically with them at all times. Betty will literally destroy something or herself if she's left to her own devices. So it's really challenging because either Dan or I have to be with her at all times. One of the amazing things is that she takes naps. So we get 3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours in the middle of the day to do stuff. That's amazing. School age kids, talking to my friends and family who have school age kids, it's really challenging right now because now you have to become a homeschool teacher. Very difficult. But the positive they say is that they can be left alone. So my sister, for example, she said, she has a 6 and a 9-year-old. She said, I have to go take care of a couple things for work, and they're fine being by themselves for a couple hours. So that's really nice. Then you have teens. The really difficult thing about teens, I have 2 younger sisters who are teens. So talking to my mom, the really difficult piece is that they can leave. They can physically leave the house. Many of them are adult size. They can just walk out. I'm really thankful Betty can't just walk out. But one of the positives is they have the capability to understand the situation that's going on and understand how important it is for them to stay at home. So this is one of the things that we really learned this week, is that empathy and compassion are so important, because it doesn't matter how old your kids are. Everyone has their own set of challenges, and everyone has their own pieces of amazingness with the age of kids that they have. The third thing we learned is that every single person has a completely unique situation. So people have different age groups of kids. People have multiple kids. There are single parents. There are people who have both working parents, and so trying to figure out the schedules to make that work. There are people who are married who have kids and their spouse is an essential worker. So they're basically single parenting and having to work. There are people who are working from home and whose spouses and significant others are getting laid off. Every single person has a completely unique situation. And so there is no prescriptive answer. There is no one right way to do things, because everyone is in such a different boat. And I do think, this is working from home with your kids. So this is also important for us as working people to be compassionate with our companies and our businesses that we work for, because every single person has a completely unique situation. And so what business leaders that I've been talking to are trying their best to figure out what's going to work, but it's really, really hard because everyone's situation is so different. So that leads to number 4. What we've learned is compassion and communication are absolutely everything in this time that we're in. This is really our time to be human, to take care of each other, and to really understand that everyone's situation is different. No one's is better than another person's. No one's is worse. Everyone is challenged right now. And again, company leadership is just as baffled with how to handle it as we are in trying to navigate working at home with our kids. So it's really important that you communicate what you need to your managers, to your team. You need to communicate what's working so that can continue, and you need to communicate what's not working so you can change it. And again, be compassionate to your teammates, to your company leaders, to each other, because we're all trying to figure this out. And we need to ask for what no, that's not what I want to say there. Ask and tell. We need to tell each other what we need and what we want, but we also need to ask. You need to take it on yourself too, to ask your friends, ask your family, ask your coworkers, how are they doing? What do they need? What help do they need? And the last thing we have learned is that even with all of this suckiness and all of this hardness and all of these challenges, there is a ton of gratitude out there. People are full of gratitude for these moments that they get with their kids that they didn't get before. This extra time together. So as much as it's hard, as much as it sucks a lot, there's also a ton of gratitude and a ton of beautiful, beautiful moments. So that's been really amazing to see and experience and learn as well. So remember, friends, this is an unprecedented time. You are doing a great job. You are amazing. If you need to be told that at any point in time, you just call me and I'll tell you that every day. So the next steps are, if you want more support, more tips, or just to be able to collaborate with other people who are working at home with their kids, please join our Facebook group, Work Plus Kids Plus Social Distance. Talk to me. My email is leah@choosetheperk.com. I am here to talk to you about anything that you're challenged by, anything at all. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me. And yeah, so that's the talking portion. Now I would like to stop sharing my screen, and so I can see people if people want to turn on their cameras. And yeah, I really just want to have this be a time now to discuss any challenges that we're facing or things that are working for us. Oh, there's baby Sammy. Yay! But yeah, it's so important in this time. Nobody has all the answers. And so I think it's really important in this time for us to come together as community and talk and just say what's working, what's not, or if anyone's found a solution to something. Because another thing, just real quick. Did anyone have the experience when you graduated college, you felt like you knew less than when you entered? Because when I went to college, I was like, I know everything. And I left, I was like, I know nothing. I felt like I knew way more last week than I do this week. I was like, I can give tips for how to work at home with kids, no problemo. And I'm like, all right, that was really freaking hard. So, any questions, comments, concerns? And everyone's muted, so you have to unmute yourself.
Hi, this is Nina.
Hi, Nina.
This is my
This is Nina from Boldly & Co. Check out her website. She's amazing.
I will say, like, yesterday, my husband and I had it together. We were doing these like great 90-minute shifts, and it seemed like we had our lives together. Today, we realized, we forgot to have a plan. And our kids basically survived in front of their screens and playing outside. But I really took your tip about like not having the screen guilt and, you know, being accepting and gentle with ourselves. And, I mean, my kids are alive. So, so today is a good day as well.
It's amazing. Nina, do you have any tips, since you're the resident expert on like routine and schedule, and you did a bunch of stuff with, you know, with doing this with your kids? Do you have any quick tips?
So a couple things would be to let your kids like do as much cozying up as possible. Like yesterday, like building forts and letting them be messy around the house, which normally we're like very put together and cleaned up in our house, but like doing fun things like that where they get to do their reading or constructive activities in their cozy, you know, place of choice. That kept my kids occupied for about an hour yesterday. But no, the biggest thing that for us on the days that go well for us, I notice the difference is we have a plan in the morning and like a little family meeting about what's going down and who needs to do what and be where, just like you would at work. Mm-hmm. And then we have a little meeting at the end of the day, like how did it go? How do we feel? So that's something that's been really helpful. The other thing is I've let my kids choose instead of being like, here's a very strict schedule that we're following. Instead, it's like, hey, you've got to achieve these 4 things in a day, and I'll help you get set up, and you have to do each of those for 30 minutes. And we set the timer, and they can see the timer. So when we kind of do that morning meeting, go with the flow schedule where they get to choose what they do and where they see the timer, things seem to go better when we do that.
That's awesome. Thank you. What other questions or challenges or things that are working really well? Oh, there's my peanut. Hi, Betty.
Hi, guys. It's Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay.
I work for Winsight, and I lead our development and digital production teams. And I also have a 4-month-old baby who you just saw and a 2-year-old. And I don't know. First off, Leah, thank you for doing these videos, because this is just madness, and I definitely feel you with, I feel like I'm failing most of the time and feel alone at a lot of times. So these videos make me feel a lot less alone. And to that point, I think a support system is just beyond important. I feel like I'm so lucky to have a boss, coworkers, friends who are all in the same boat and so supportive. So I've been trying to FaceTime people a lot more and just lean on them, vent to them. That's so important. And I've also learned just in the past couple of days, actually, that when my husband is home to help with the kids, I need to disappear physically. If I can hear them, if I can see them, if they can see me, I want to help, I want to fix. And I need to not do that, and I need to focus on work. And then, like you kind of mentioned, just back to the basics, right? Keep a schedule, like as if I am leaving the house. So my morning workouts are extremely important to me. So I try to keep those. Basic hygiene, although today it doesn't really look like it, but I've been trying to schedule video chats, like specifically on days like Fridays and Saturday, like so that I will shower and maybe put some makeup on and feel like a human, I guess. This is madness, you guys. You're all doing a great job.
It's funny, like I've worked at remote companies for so long, and I always laughed at the like where we'd like give the tip, like make sure you brush your teeth. I'm like, come on, people do that. And then like the other day I was like, oh my God, I don't think I brushed my teeth today.
Oh yeah. Yeah, usually around noon I do a check. I'm like, has everyone brushed their teeth today?
Same here. And Lindsay, if it makes you feel any better, I only did my hair and makeup today, like for my own sanity, because I realized that I'd worn the same outfit like 4 days in a row. And I was like, maybe I should do something with myself today.
Oh yeah, we all have those uniforms.
Does anyone have any, like, Lindsay, you said that your company's been really, supportive and helpful. What are people's companies doing, or coworkers doing, or bosses doing that's helping you during this time? Because again, like I said, like a lot of companies are still baffled on what to do. And so like, what are the things that you're seeing people do that's really helping?
So Nicole here. Hi, and Lincoln. So it's not really my company that's doing it. My team, we got together and we decided that I got a bunny. Okay. We decided that we were gonna do a work from home hero award. So like every week we're gonna do like a who was the hero of working from home this week, and so we're gonna do like nominations and do just like a little, hey, you're the hero this week.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that.
Yeah, so we actually had a You Rock award that we used to have that was an actual rock. So this is now our version of that. So that's been actually really nice. In the puddle. Oh yes, you jumped in the puddle. I know. Thanks for sharing. That was actually really good. So not really my company, but my group that's team perspective. Just wanted to share because it's actually been really good for morale.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I know that's morale is something that's going to is already, something that companies are focusing on. But I just think as time goes on, being really proactive and intentional in how we're engaging our teams and focusing on their emotional wellness is going to be so important. I love it.
I was going to say, while I'm not in the corporate world anymore and I'm now self-employed, I will say when I was in the corporate world, I had a very, very large team. And if I were still in there now, I think the number one thing I would be doing would be having like a morning meeting, where we can see each other and where we can laugh together and be connected and make sure everyone knows what they need to be doing and not doing 80 million more things. Like the expectation needs to be lowered and to be like, hey, here's just what's okay. And that's what's okay to just get done. And let's not work on overachieving this week, or whatever it is.
Right.
And I think the next thing that I would do is be making some extra calls to people, like extra text, right? Extra phone call, extra something or other to just keep having some of those strong connections and just having like casual conversation and personal conversations with people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the video chat and like connecting is it's so important, like for a remote team in general, but like right now it's especially important just in the socially distant world that we're living in. Yeah, it's so important. And I think it's really interesting. Somebody said to me the other day, they're like, Leah, what's really hard about this is like a lot of people had like intentionally chosen not to work at remote companies. So it's, it's like they didn't want to be a remote employee. They like to physically be around other people. So now having to kind of deal with that of like, it's not that I didn't choose to work remotely, it's that I don't like working remotely. So, which is interesting because usually you hear like people saying like, oh, I wish I could work from home more with my job, but there's a lot of people that don't want to be working remotely.
Leah, I think too. This is Annalise Hagan.
Hi.
Hey, so we are self-employed, and I pick up my kids from school every day about 3:00. And for me, there's always a tension between wanting to give the best. We're in real estate, so
Mhm.
tension between wanting to always respond quickly to our clients and but yet be home too. And so I kind of want the best of both worlds. Something I've learned to do even before all of this is knowing that even though I'm home, it doesn't mean that I need to be home.
Mm.
And I don't have to respond to a text the instant I get it.
Mhm.
To a text on the hour, just saying, hey, I'll check my text, I'll check my emails every hour. And so that my mind isn't constantly playing like a volleyball between home and work and home and work. And I think just because we are at home, it's still important to have that separation, even if it's just a mental separation, that you don't have to constantly be connected just because you can be.
Totally.
And I'm going to take this break and, I will respond to an email that may be an hour or maybe 2 hours before you get a response instead of, right then and there. So I think just that mental separation has been so helpful to me.
Yeah, that's huge. Thank you for saying that. And I think, one of the things too in being self-employed and having clients is Dan and I have really found in the past couple weeks that like our clients are in the same boat as us, so when we're like, I'm so sorry, I have to cancel this call. Like, we're home with my daughter. They'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm home with my kids too. Do you want to do it at like 8:00 at night instead? And I'm like, yes, whereas like before that was totally unheard of. But now it's like our clients are in such the same situation. And so it's like having that compassion and like we still can be great service providers, just different. Maybe we're slower to respond and like people get it,
Yes.
Amazing. Okay, we're 2 minutes over. I know you all have busy, busy lives. So thank you for coming today, though. Again, we are in an unprecedented time and you all are doing a great, great job. So thank you so much. Hang in there, y'all. We will get through this together as a community.
Bye.
See ya.